Hey guys, Outdoor Prepper, welcome to the channel. I don't think I even need to explain what this is. This is a classic American lighter, a Zippo lighter. This just happens to be one of my favorite designs. This is the Don't Tread on Me motif, if you will. So what I want to do today is just spend a couple of minutes and show you what is the proper way to set up your new Zippo lighter. Believe it or not, there actually is a correct way to do this other than just opening it up and filling it up. There actually is a proper way. So let's just jump right into it. First thing I'm going to do is just take the nice sticker off the back so that way I can open the lighter up and remove the actual inner piece. But before I do that, I just want to show you in the package there actually is some instructions here in the back. Because believe it or not, there actually is a correct way to set this up, and it is not to just put the fluid in. So if we look at the directions here, what you want to do is you want to take the wick and you want to route it kind of in an S position, and you want to take the rayon balls and pack them strategically all around the wick. This helps the fluid to absorb a little bit more, and it also helps the wick to last a little bit longer, and it's a little more evenly dispersed around the wick. So let's just jump right into it. First thing I'm going to do is just open up the lighter, and I'm just going to take the insert out, or the actual lighter piece itself out. I'm just going to grab it by the chimney and pull it right out. This is a brand new lighter, and actually one thing I want to point out to you, in case you're not aware of that, the letter corresponds with a month, and the 21 is the year. So while this is a new lighter, I've obviously had it for some time, this was made in 2021. So the very first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take a screwdriver, and I'm going to unscrew the little screw here, which is holding in the spring, which holds in the flint. So you may need to replace the flint. Obviously, if you're using this, excessively, it will eventually wear down. And these screws are pretty tight right out of the factory, so you may need a little muscle to just kind of unscrew this. And the reason I'm taking this out is I just want to make it easier to take out the rayon balls, and the little cover here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to take a little pair of pliers here, little needle nose pliers, because it actually is just a little bit easier to grab this otherwise. But if you have tweezers, those work as well. And I'm just going to pull that out. I'm going to remember the direction in which it went in, but you can obviously flip it over as well if you need. And now I'm just going to pull these rayon balls out. There should be 5 of them. And from the factory, they just kind of throw everything in here, and it's not really packed the way that they show you to pack it. And I have to be honest, I really don't know why they don't do that. They really should, pack it correctly, especially if it's, being made from the factory. So those are 2. Sometimes these stick together. That's why I'm trying to just make sure that I'm going to get, for the most part, all 5 of them out. All right, I'm going to leave the one in right here on the side because that one is a little more difficult, and it's actually okay where it is. So if we see the wick that's in here from the factory, it's just kind of all squished in there at the bottom. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the wick out. And again, I'm using needle nose pliers here because it is just so much easier. Now I pulled this wick out all the way, which I didn't actually want to do, but that's okay. So I'm just going to line it back up and just feed it through the chimney again. And see, it is actually very easy to do this. I'm going to push it just a smidge past. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to just push the wick down just a little bit over here, and then I'm going to start feeding the rayon balls in. And again, I just want you to see here in the directions how this should be. You want the wick to come down kind of in an S pattern, packed evenly with the rayon balls around it. So, let's put one in right down here. I'm going to use, actually got a screwdriver, which is nice and fine, so this will help me to pack them in. And again, the real reason that we're doing this is we want to allow for more uniform filling of the actual lighter fluid, and we want the wick to last a little more uniformly because it's more uniformly packed with the fluid as opposed to the wick is just all shoved against the bottom, or in this case the top, you know, as it came from the factory. So I'm just kind of pushing this a little bit into an S pattern here. And it doesn't have to be exact, but you want to do a little bit better than it came from the factory. All right, and now I'm just going to kind of put the wick like that. And this lets it pick up all the fluid too from the bottom. Because if the whole wick is kind of just shoved up here, then as your fluid level gets lower, you're really not picking any up. Or you're not picking it up as easily as you could. So now I'm going to try to push this back in. And you know, this just takes a little practice. There's not really a science to this, but you want to make sure that everything is packed in here enough so that you can get the felt cover back over it. All right, so I think that's sufficient. And I've got the wick. The wick is raised just a little bit. I can lower it just a smidge. It's pretty much at the top of the chimney, but I like to keep it just a smidge below. There we go. And you can always take a scissor if you need and try to just trim it a little bit, but that's pretty much a good spot right there. So now I'm going to take this, put this back in. Now we are pretty much ready to put the flint back in and the spring, and then once that happens, we can just lift the felt tab and fill it with lighter fluid. And there's all different types of fluids out there. You don't have to use the Zippo lighter fluid, but I will tell you the Zippo fluid actually really does burn a little bit cleaner than some of the others. And believe it or not, you actually can put gasoline in here, and that will work as well. And in fact, during World War II, a lot of the GIs used gasoline because that was all they had available. But I will tell you that gasoline will burn a little more dirty with a little more soot. So just be aware of that if you choose to go that route. Again, I'm just grabbing the wick. I'm just pushing it down just a little bit. I could have probably pulled it down a little bit more when I fed it in, but that's okay. So now the way I like to fill this, truthfully, is I like to just fill it until I see the fluid coming up here to the top. So I'm going to use my Zippo lighter fluid, and some of these cans are a little challenging to open because you can't really reach in here to flip it up. So what I like to do is just use the nail of my thumb, and I kind of go here on the white piece, and I just kind of push it back, and then I get this started. And it's much easier to open the bottle of lighter fluid that way. So I hope you can see in the camera now. I'm literally just going to fill until I start to see the fluid come to the top. And it's okay if you overfill it just a smidge. I mean, this fluid really does evaporate pretty easily. And I would say in between fillings, obviously depending on how much you use the lighter, this will probably last you about 2 weeks. But keep in mind, eventually it does evaporate. So I know what a lot of folks do. I think that's pretty sufficient right there. I can see the rayon ball is pretty moist now. What a lot of folks do is when they're not using the lighter, they'll actually take it and put it in a Ziploc bag because that will help a little bit prevent the fluid from evaporating. So now I've got it filled up. I've got it placed, the actual lighter mechanism itself placed back inside the case. Love that sound. Absolutely love that sound. I'm just going to give this a second to let the fluid kind of soak into the rayon balls and up to the wick. And while we're just waiting a second, I'll just kind of give you a little more tour of the lighter. This is some adhesive left over from when I pulled that sticker off. I'll actually take a little lighter fluid after and just kind of clean that right off. I gotta tell you, this Don't Tread on Me design, really, really sharp. I really like this design a lot. All right, so that should be enough. Like I said, the wick is maybe just a smidge higher than I would like it, but I think that's okay. Let's go ahead and flick it and see if it lights. Look at that. Just like that, it works perfect. Guys, I really hope you found this video helpful. I know it seems pretty self-explanatory on how to use a Zippo lighter, but again, believe it or not, there really is a correct way to do it, and that correct way is to follow the instructions from the manufacturer. It will allow the more fluid to be picked up. It'll allow the wick to last a little bit longer. And I do want to point one other thing out. Again, I use Zippo lighter fluid. You don't have to use Zippo lighter fluid. You could use any brand, although this is pretty cheap. I think this was $4, and this will last you quite a long time. I've actually got a larger bottle that I've had maybe for, oh my gosh, 10 years, and there's still plenty of fluid in it. But one thing I want to point out, and I'll show you here in the instructions, this item right here, and I hope you can kind of see a little bit, I'll raise it in closer. That is where extra flints are stored. So you can buy extra flints from Zippo and other brands as well. And you just kind of turn the wheel to pop a flint out. What I've seen a lot of folks do here in the felt pad, and actually let me pull it out and I'll just show you. This might be a little hot. Nope, it's okay. Here in the felt pad, there's actually a little hole, and you can actually stick an extra flint in there, so that way you've always got one. I've also seen some other people just kind of lift the felt pad up and throw a flint in there. That way, just in case, you've got one in there as well. But the little hole works, just as easily. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you didn't know, now you know the technically correct way to prep your Zippo lighter. Do me a favor, like and subscribe, and leave some comments. I actually read and reply to every single comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.